Hello, everyone. On behalf of the Global Landscapes Forum, I welcome you all. My name is Isabel Mesquita. I'm part of GeoLab's team. And just to quickly introduce myself, I'm a social scientist from Brazil. And for the past 9 years, I've been working with NGOs that support indigenous organizations from the Brazilian Amazon. Today, I'm very pleased to have a virtual coffee with Jennifer Pryce, who is president and CEO of Calvert Impact Capital. Jennifer is an engineer, graduated in Union College, New York, with an MBA from Columbia University. Her trajectory began as a math teacher in Gabon, going to big organizations like Morgan Stanley. And today she's currently a Forbes contributor and a lecturer at Oxford State School of Business and the advisory board chair of Quantified Ventures. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for joining us today. It is a pleasure.
Thank you. It's so good to be with you and with this great event of COP26 with us.
Thank you so much. So first, to begin, I would love to hear a few words about you and your works. So could you describe in a nutshell what Calvert Impact Capital does?
Yep, my pleasure. So I've been at Calvert Impact Capital about 10 years now. And the work we do, I'm a finance practitioner, so I move money. And what we do is move money where it isn't going today. So we work with investors, individual investors, institutions, pension funds, and connect their capital to communities that are right now overlooked by traditional finance. And so we're providing access to capital for projects like a blue bond or affordable housing or small business loans or for sustainable agriculture. And in that process, we're trying to make it easy, really easy for investors to put their money to work in these ways and make it normal. You know, there's parts of our economy, there's parts of our society that don't get access to capital. And we're trying to make it the norm that all parts of our economy and society can get capital in the right shape and form so that not only do investors get a financial return, but also we maintain the social, the environmental quality of what we're investing in. And that's deeply important to us. And so in some audiences, people call us impact investors because we care not just about financial return, but also about the social and environmental return of our investments.
That's so incredible to hear. I think this kind of innovation is really important and relevant today. So I have some questions for you, and the first would be, you have a really diverse trajectory, and I would like to know if there are any episodes that you could share with us that can help us understand how you got where you are today.
Yeah, it'd be my pleasure. And you know, there's parts of why I'm doing what I'm doing. And then there's one story as you were talking that just came right to my mind, which is why I keep doing what I'm doing. As I said, I've been at Calvert for about 10 years. And prior to that, I was working in community development. So trying to get capital into communities for 5 or 6 years prior to that. So the last 15 years of my career has been all about how do we get capital into communities and really achieve a financial and an environmental social return. And I'll never forget going about 5 years ago to Chicago with a colleague of mine. And we were going to visit a large pension fund, a large institutional investor, to really sell them on the opportunity to buy our product, the Calvert Community Investment Note, and really share with them that with that purchase, they would have their investment return, but they would also be benefiting communities around the globe. Their capital would be helping smallholder farmers get small microloans so they could provide, purchase inputs to really work their crops and have better yields. All the good outcomes we were sharing. And at the end of the meeting, they said, well, that was great. Bye-bye, we'll see you later. And I walked down to the street corner with my colleague, Justin, and I looked at him and I said, I can't believe it. They didn't buy our product. They're not going to invest. And he looked right back at me and he said, I've been trying to get into their office for 4 years and we got to talk to them. And he said, Jen, this work is a marathon, not a sprint. And that really has stuck with me in these times when there's so much that needs to be done and we all just want to respond and get in there and have action. It is a marathon. We have to work across many stakeholders. We need to find ways that everyone wins. We need to have conversations to understand what's important to each other, and that does take time. So I have found that that stays with me these days, to really hold in there and really realize that this is a marathon, not a sprint.
Wow, yes, that's a really good thinking, and that keeps us moving, right? To have this long view. But I was just wondering with that, what you said related to how we have to have win-win and consider environmental and also community issues. And considering it's a marathon, how do you think that these financial innovations and initiatives like Calvert Impact Works, how do you think this could be broadened to reduce inequities all over the world, since we are living in a world that is guided by a market dynamics that works a bit differently from that? So how do you see these initiatives can be broadened?
To me, what you're asking is really a deep question, because what I think behind that too is really working together, investors, community, and understanding what's important to everyone. And that usually means that in those conversations, when you understand what's important to everyone, that you need to give some power to the people that don't have it today. There needs to be some shifting of power as well as shifting of capital so that there's better access and opportunity for everyone. So what does that look like in real life? One project that we were investors in was the Seychelles Blue Bond. It was the first blue bond in the world. And the government in the Seychelles issued this bond in 2018, 2019 perhaps. And it was a smaller size bond. It was 15 million. And we bought it with both a financial return that we were making, but also with impact return, which is the proceeds from that investment were going to help build out the Seychelles blue economy. But what had to happen before that was 3 to 4 years of conversations with community, with politicians, with all the stakeholders of the Seychelles community to really have them buy into this idea of investing in their natural resource, the ocean, and really want to be part of that change. And for us as investors to understand what kind of capital they needed, what was important to them, so that we could all come together and have an investment that really met everyone's goals. So I think it's very possible. It takes time, it takes effort, and it takes interest in making sure everyone gets what they need to really succeed and feel like they have a quality of life, that they're empowered. But it usually does mean that there's some transfer of power in there.
Thanks, Jennifer. I really admire your patience in taking all the time and years sometimes to build things. But I see that we have some emergencies, like if we consider climate change and also environmental issues. So we know that some shifts must be done in the way we produce and in the way we consume as well. So I would like to hear a few words from you about the challenges we have regarding big companies that produce and sell. So how can we redirect investments to more sustainable paths?
Yeah, and I like that you're bringing us back to that, because 6, 7 years to get something done is great, but how do we really meet today's urgency? And what I have seen is that that project I described of the Seychelles Blue Bond, that was one investment, but it sat in a larger system. And that meant that we had to care not just about that investment, but about the system it sat in. So the policy, the regulatory, all the different pieces that make up the ecosystem. And what we have now, I believe, is systems that need to change. The investments that we're doing are illustrative of where the systems are broken, but it's not just about doing transactions and moving capital. It's also about changing the system so that things are different fundamentally for the next transaction or going forward. And I think this is hard for not just corporates, for a lot of people, because it is long-term thinking and not just short-term gain. And so what that means sometimes for corporations or investors is they lose money or they don't make maybe as much money in the first 1 or 2 years. But over 7, 8, 9 years, I would argue they're making just as much money or they're having just as solid financial returns and outcomes. But it's taking that long-term view for the short-term trade-off of either more time, more effort, maybe less financial return. And I think part of what we're starting to see is that the return in the short term is impact. And to be able to talk about the reduction in carbon, to be able to talk about the quality of life improvements for people are ways that we can understand the short-term benefits, even if they're not financial return. So I think we can get there, but it involves us thinking a little different, moving to long-term, not just short-term gain, thinking about the system and not just the one transaction or your only supply chain, but everything that you're taking to do what you do.
Thanks, Jennifer. I see that for us, humanity as a whole, we really need to change our mindset, right? As you said,
Yes.
like we have to adjust some things and maybe think a bit deeper and in the long term for others, so we can guarantee life on planet maybe. But now, before closing, I have one last question for you. You already mentioned many aspects of how you see the paths we can go. But considering Calvert impact and your segment, what is the biggest contribution that you see that you can give to all of this situation in the next decade, since we're thinking long term, right? So for the next decade, what is the contribution you see you can give?
Yep. You know, it might be simple and it might be not the decade, maybe this is the next 2 or 3 years, but it can have impacts longer. And that, I think, is not just thinking about how big we make our announcements, right? You know, I think as investors, sometimes we get caught up with $1 billion, $100 million fund, but it's the quality of the money, not the quantity. And so I'll give you one last example, an environmental impact bond that we were investors in here in the United States. The proceeds of that bond enabled the public water company to do green infrastructure, environmentally good upgrades to their water system rather than gray infrastructure, building more hard concrete tunnels. And the environmental impact bond allowed them to take more risk because this technology wasn't proven yet. And so the cost of capital, how much they would pay for that bond, was priced at a point where they could take that innovative risk and make some mistakes, perhaps, in implementing the green infrastructure. They implemented it, they learned a lot, and now they don't need an environmental impact bond. This is just the way they do business, because we and Goldman Sachs, in fact, we put up 25 million and enabled them to take this early innovator risk. And now they don't need more impact capital. They have just changed the way they do things. So it's both good for the planet, good for people, and makes economic sense. And that was 25 million, and we've changed a lot. So sometimes talking in these big numbers, no, it's not about the quantity, it's the quality of what we do. And that's what I hope we at Calvert Impact Capital and just collectively we can start to think more deeply about, is not just announcements, not just about big numbers, but what we've accomplished with what we've set out to do.
Thanks, Jennifer. That's a really interesting paradigm shift considering your area. To think more about quality and not quantity is really innovative. So thank you so much for sharing all your thoughts with us. It was great to hear you and really my pleasure. And thank you all for joining us today for this session. I hope you all enjoy GeoLF Climate and stay safe. See you.
Thank you.